Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Mortensen from ALEC Public Affairs. We're here at the States and Nation Policy Summit in Washington, D.C., and my special guest right now is Bruce Lee, not to be confused with his Asian cousin, Bruce Lee. Is that right?
That's right. Yep. The other side of the family.
Other side of the family. The Phoenix Correspondence Commission. That's the name of the organization you're here to represent and tell us about.
Okay.
Now, this is the first time I have ever heard of the Phoenix Correspondence Commission. It's new, right?
Very new, so don't feel bad about that. Yeah, the PCC, as we refer to it, is a state-created organization of states. So it is a government entity created at the 2017 National Convention of States held in Phoenix, Arizona, hence the name Phoenix Correspondence Commission. And kudos to the Arizona legislature for having the foresight to invite all 50 states to meet in Phoenix to discuss how to balance authority and role between the states and the federal government. And with one of the particular tools in the tool belt being an Article 5 convention. And in the process of establishing what they would consider the convention considered a model set of rules for an Article 5 convention, how it should operate. They created the PCC as a follow-up organization to that to do several functions.
I'm just putting the name up on the screen there. The Phoenix Correspondence Commission. You're so new. In fact, you don't have a website. You're still building it.
We're still building that. That's correct. And we're getting our .gov domain even as we speak. So again, the Phoenix Correspondence Commission is the entity to be a forum for all 50 states to come together to have common discussions. And in terms of state, national balancing of authority and power, and particularly with a concern about our fiscal integrity as a country, and federal overstep in general, of which there are many. And the states have been somewhat derelict in letting the authority of the states slip out of their hands into the federal level. And I think you might agree with that. There are many illustrations of that occurring. And of the various tools in our tool belt, Article 5 Convention is one of the biggest tools available to be used. So we were created to be a communication tool among all 50 states. And we have established delegates from the upper and lower chambers of every state legislature, Nebraska getting 2,
right?
Because they're the only unicameral. We're meeting on a quarterly basis, and looking at particularly, there's a potential of an Article 5 convention coming much sooner than we might anticipate. Because earlier this year, in actually December 2021, it was discerned that Congress actually had received the requisite number of calls for convention as far back as 1979, but simply did not act as they were required to do in the Constitution.
So it sounds like the purpose of the Phoenix Correspondence Commission is to build towards a convention of states. Is that right?
To build toward that's, again, one of the tools. It's a major tool to build toward the states coming together in an Article 5 convention. And
wait, is there a difference between an Article 5 convention and convention of states?
Well, a convention of states is somewhat of a generic term.
Okay.
So even what we had in
Gotcha.
2017 was a convention of states.
Okay.
But an Article 5 convention is sort of a more narrow, defined purpose of the states coming together.
Gotcha.
So in 2017, which was the first nationwide call for a meeting of all the states or convention of states since 1861.
Okay.
So it was really historic in nature, and again, kudos to the Arizona legislature for having that vision. But as one of the functions of the PCC is actually to document the calls for an Article 5 convention, communicate, again, in all 50 states, speak with a common voice to Congress as a point of contact with Congress regarding these types of matters, and coordinating with the public and things of this nature. So it is possible. It all depends how you count your calls, because there are different movements out there Some would have a movement, we ought to have term limits. Another movement says we ought to do this.
Right.
And while we are not promoting or sponsoring a particular movement,
Gotcha.
we are focused on the structural integrity of the process
Right.
and the states having a common voice in this whole process.
So what can state lawmakers do to get involved, or if they want to be a part of this, what's that look like?
Well, right now we have contact and delegates from most states here in our fine nation. And we are still looking for a number of other states to have those contacts and delegates from. I'm back somewhere. I've got a list of some of the states that are some of our target states. Including Maine, Florida, Rhode Island, Virginia, and I find, frankly, as state legislators are aware of the PCC, they're quite enthusiastic about it because it performs a very critical function.
So you're probably really happy to be here at ALEC, where this is a meeting of state lawmakers.
Absolutely.
And what is your message to them here today?
Well, my message is advise them about the PCC itself, but I'm also advising them and encourage them to really step up to the plate, take responsibility for where our nation's going. You know, we spend a lot of time in our civic education. We don't do enough civic education, but we all are familiar with, the difference between the executive, judicial, and legislative branches of the government, how they're supposed to be watching each other. But we do very little time on focusing on the other major check on the national government, which is the state government. Encourage them to step up in that role and to stop necessarily looking to Washington for the magic bullet that's going to solve all the problems.
That should be the headline of this meeting: is stop looking to Washington for the magic bullet. It's not there.
Well,
they've proven that.
Let's talk about just the budget issues. Okay.
Right.
So whether you have a trifecta of Republicans or Democrats in Congress over the past 40 or so years, we've still gone deeper and deeper and deeper into debt, deeper, worse mismanagement.
Yep.
And there's so many intrinsic incentives to keep the system going as it is already going.
Right.
So when you're looking at systemic change, you really need an outside force, which is the state. And I've got to commend, Justice Roberts back in the Obamacare decision, NFIB versus Sebelius. And I love this comment that he said, the simple expedient of not yielding to federal blandishments when they do not want to embrace those federal policies as their own. That the state's saying thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
We don't want that. And he goes on to say the states are separate and independent sovereigns. Sometimes they have to act like it, which is basically saying, hey, states, it's time to buck up. Hey, states, it's time to man up. These are not partisan issues. These are structural issues, which are essential for the future of our republic.
Well, thank you for that message. I couldn't agree more with you, and I think you'll find a lot of lawmakers here at ALEC who agree with you. So I think you've come to the right place.
Yeah. Thanks so much. God bless you. I appreciate your time, Catherine.
Thank you so much, W. Bruce Lee. And the group is the Phoenix Correspondence Commission. They're building their website, so hopefully soon you'll have an opportunity to go there and check out their resources. And thank you for joining us here for this video live stream from the States and Nation Policy Summit.